Building Islamic centers with Zakat funds. Using Zakat funds to build Islamic centers. The issue. Large amounts of money are needed for the purchase of places that are intended to become Islamic centers. More funds are also needed for building such centers and to meet their running and maintenance costs, so that they can fulfill their objectives. Donations often fall short of what is required, while the need for such centers is great indeed. Is it permissible to use Zakat funds for the building of Islamic centers in Western countries? Ruling. Scholars have different views on this question, with two views clearly apparent. The first view permits the spending of Zakat funds in building Islamic centers and other purposes of Islamic advocacy. This view is agreed by the Islamic Fiqh Council, adopted in its 8th session 27 Rabi 2, 8 Jamada 1405 1985, its 4th decision, and in its 9th session 12-19 Rajab 1406 1986, its 5th and 7th decisions. These decisions state that the beneficiaries of Zakat include for serving God's cause, which is very flexible. As such, it is permissible to spend Zakat funds for purposes other than those for which they have been stated, such as activities of advocacy of Islam, and for social institutions that advocate and defend Islam and present it to people. Islamic centers are among the best institutions to undertake such tasks. Bayt al-Zakat. The Fatwa Committee of Bayt al-Zakat published its ruling that it is permissible to invest Zakat funds in projects that yield profit, such as schools and hospitals, and more importantly, Islamic centers. However, the following conditions apply. The services of such projects must be available to other beneficiaries of Zakat. The project must remain to be owned by the beneficiaries of Zakat and managed by the ruler or his assignee, and if the project is sold or liquidated, the proceeds of the sale or liquidation must be treated as Zakat funds. Sheikh Muhammad Rashid Rida is of the view that for serving God's cause, as one of the purposes for which Zakat is used, incorporates any good action that provides a general service that seeks to earn God's pleasure. Sheikh Mahmud Shaltut considers that for serving God's cause includes all public services that may benefit the Muslim community as a whole. It does not apply to any particular one. As such, it includes mosques, hospitals, educational institutions, steel and ammunition factories and similar purposes that benefit the community. Sheikh Jad al-Haq considers that for serving God's cause allows spending Zakat funds in all good purposes including burying the dead, building forts and mosques. Evidence. The Quranic verse, "Charitable donations are only for the poor and the needy, and those who work in the administration of such donations, and those whose hearts are to be won over, for the freeing of people in bondage and debtors, and to further God's cause, and for the traveler in need." 9:60. God says in the Quran, "Those who spend their property for the cause of God and do not follow their spending by vaunting their own generosity, or by hurting others, shall have their reward with their Lord. They have nothing to fear, nor shall they grieve." 262. The phrase "for the cause of God" applies to everything that serves the truth and makes it clear. It is reported that one of the Prophet's companions dedicated a she-camel for the service of God's cause. The man's wife wanted to travel to Makkah to perform the pilgrimage. The Prophet said to her, "You may use the she-camel, as performing the pilgrimage is part of God's cause." Related by Abu Dawud, Hadith number 1990. The role of Islamic centers in the advocacy of Islam confirms that they may be included in the general meaning of the verse identifying the ways of spending Zakat funds. The second view does not approve of using Zakat funds for the building of Islamic centers. This view is shared by the Supreme Committee of Scholars in Saudi Arabia, adopted decision number 24 on 21 Sha'ban 1394 1974. It says that after reviewing the relevant research works and views on this issue, it adopted a majority decision reconfirming that to further God's cause refers to volunteer fighters and their needs of equipment and preparation. If there are none of these, then the funds should go to the other beneficiaries of Zakat. No such funds may be spent on providing or maintaining public services unless there are no poor or needy people and no other beneficiaries of Zakat as outlined in the relevant Quranic verse. The majority of the members of the Islamic Fiqh Council in India are of the view that as one of the areas that may benefit of Zakat funds, to further God's cause is specific, not general. As such, it cannot include all religious and advocacy purposes. The former Mufti of Saudi Arabia, Sheikh Mohammed ibn Ibrahim, considers that to further God's cause cannot apply to mosques and charitable purposes. He adds, paying zakat to spend on mosques and charitable purposes cannot be included into the 8 classes mentioned by God as the only ones to be given zakat money. Evidence. The overwhelming majority of early scholars consider that to further God's cause is limited to volunteer fighters and to get ready for fighting, because the relevant religious texts use it in this sense.